Welcome to Clutch Kick Radio with Ryan Lechner.
Welcome to Clutch Kick Radio. This is Andy.
This is Ryan.
How you doing, Ryan?
Good. How about you?
Doing good, man. We are going out on all platforms right now. Facebook Live, YouTube, our Twitch channel. I think we're even going out on D Live, and of course, Spreaker, where you can find not just this episode, but all of our previous episodes in audio form. How are you doing, man?
Good. How about you? It's been a pretty interesting, busy day. I've already been to Lebanon and Albany, and now back to Lebanon again.
Crazy, dude.
That's why I was a little late. Yeah, that guy hit me up with the Fanatec drift sim setup and was pretty much like, "Yep, come get it." And it was such a good deal, I didn't want to pass it up. So we pretty much just packed our stuff up and headed down this way. And he was in Albany, and so I hit up another guy on the way down, and I just brought my EOTech site with me, and he happened to be available as well. So we stopped it. We went from Albany, then we came back to Lebanon, sold him my EOTech site.
Was that Scott?
Yep.
Yeah, he was excited about that.
Yeah, he was pretty stoked about it. And of course, you can't just run away on that. We're there kind of checking out some of his things and whatever. And so then by the time we come all the way back, eat food, I'm like, oh, God, I got to go.
Yeah.
Time for the show.
Yeah, that's right. We didn't do it last week because actually I was catering a buddy of mine's wedding.
That's right.
That went off without a hitch, dude. That food was crazy good.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's cool that you were able to do that for them.
It was good and probably saved them $2,500. I mean,
oh, I'm sure, easy.
I don't know if you've ever sorted out. I mean, very few people have, but when you get barbecue made on site and like it's the whole deal. We brought all of our own stuff. We set the whole thing up. We did all of our own cooking. I mean, that's easily $20 a plate, and I don't know. We did it for about $200. You just buy the meat. I already had the wood.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it worked out really well. And, of course, that's why we weren't here last week. But we're back this week. We've got a guest in today, Nick Proudy. He's getting himself all set up. And
he said something.
He was looking for his headphones.
No headphones.
No headphones. That's all right. We'll roll like this. How are you doing, boss?
Doing pretty good, man.
What's the word out there?
We're out Brett's house?
Well, wherever you are.
Oh, yeah. I'm hanging out with Brett Williams of the Villains.
Nice.
Right now. Yeah. Just chilling at his house, hanging out with him and the fam. He's working on his chaser.
Yeah.
What was it? How do I flip camera? This way? Nope, that's not it.
It's one of these buttons.
Oh, it's this one right here.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Oh, there it is.
He's doing a turn down.
What's up?
There's Brett right there.
What's up? Nice.
Yeah, he's doing a turn down.
Yeah, I'm looking. Right that looks good.
Yeah, for sure.
What do we call that color? Root beer?
Something like that.
What is the name of the color?
Toyota Sunset Brown.
Sunset Brown.
Nice.
That's what happens when
Bronze.
you have
Sunset Brown.
bronze. My bad.
Yeah, from Toyota.
I was going to say Sunset Brown, I think, is after you have Taco Bell and tequila.
Accurate.
Shane, you guys know Shane?
I don't think I know Shane. I feel like I've seen him around, but I don't know if I've actually met
He
him.
bought my black S15 last year.
Okay, nice.
Nice,
He
you
did
guys.
fab work. He did my bash bars, and he did this.
Look at that.
Oh, yeah. I like those pie cuts. That's very cool looking.
Yeah. You can't even see the wells. They're so pretty. Yeah.
Well, you
Nice.
you're in the thick of
Hanging
it,
out
bro.
here. I was at Park earlier. I was in the neighborhood. I live in McMinnville, so 45 minutes from Park or so. But I was up in the neighborhood and went to Park, and it's just a go-kart day, and I've never done the go-karts, and so I was just like, why not? I'm in the neighborhood. I'm just gonna go do it. So I got a couple sessions of the go-karts in today, and oh man, so much fun.
I was gonna say, I'm one of those guys too. I've been to that track so many times, and I've never done the go-karts either. And I've always wondered, so they're pretty sweet, huh?
Yeah, oh, dude, so much fun. And I did two sessions, and on the second session, I actually got it with kind of a group of guys that were actually fast. And so we're all just going back and forth, passing each other, and figuring out the best line, and it was just so much fun.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, we can't forget that is a go-kart track, and you can run go-karts there.
Right.
What? It's only drifting there. What are you talking about?
Dude, so totally worth it. If you guys haven't done it, I recommend going and getting on some karts. They're cheap to do, and just go have some fun.
Hell yeah.
My
Nice.
problem's always been my, size, obviously.
Right.
So Nick, let's go ahead and get this on for the listeners. What is your background and how did you get into drifting?
So, I used to be a Honda guy in high school, and was into that scene. Fast and the Furious is what got it for me. I was young and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And from there, just kind of got into. Did some tuning for Hondas. That was like spare cash in high school. Learned how to chip the ECU and tune them and stuff like that. But kind of got out of that scene, and then eventually got into the air-cooled Volkswagen scene. And I know, weird transition.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a little different.
I know. The Honda people were just not cool. A lot of people that are really judgmental, and you can't even make friends. So, and then my buddy was a Volkswagen dude, and I always liked bugs, and so I went to a couple of those meets, and it was just like awesome. The people were warm and friendly, and like, they want to talk to you and show you their stuff, and it's like, oh, okay. Vibes are good, So ended up picking up a 63 Bug and doing that. And so I still have that car. It's a full show car, build on air ride and everything. But I got into drifting. Actually just got invited to park one time. I didn't really know what it was. And then went out and was like, whoa, this is so sick. Got a ride along with Brett, actually, as my first ride along. And he had the G35 sedan. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah,
It was
I
LR
remember
swap.
that car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sweet car.
And so I got a ride and in that for my first ever ride along, and I was hooked, So I started just going and spectating like every single event they had, and started going to Formula Drift and going and spectating that, and didn't buy a car for a while, and instead actually got a sim. And so I bought a Fanatec sim setup, and I spent about a year training on that, learning how to drift. And same with Brian Waters, my first teammate for Sumbitch Racing, my business partner for Sumbitch Racing. He also had one or got one at the same time. So we spent about a year just, throwing down on that door to door and getting better and better, and then got drift cars. And then went out to park, and our first event was linking the track and tandeming with each other, and it was amazing. The simulator works, man. Like,
that's awesome.
I'd never actually drifted, and it worked. It worked great.
People always talk about that.
It's super cool to be able to talk to everyone because we've talked to quite a few people now that have been in like the drift sim setups and world and all that, and it's like it's something that I was never a part of, and I've never actually been a part of until today. Hopefully. But it's definitely something that like everybody talks about, and it's like I'm kind of curious too. Like I want to see what it feels like because everyone talks about it, and it's like there's got to be something there. Everyone's not doing it for no reason.
Well, and Ryan's got the full meal deal now. He just picked up the full Fanatec set with an e-brake, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah,
I'm still
today,
rocking.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm still rocking my G27 no e-brake. So
it works.
It's there.
We're working on it. I've been doing a ton of like research and stuff to see how we can make his G27 feel better, because it doesn't feel amazing, but it works.
No, it is what it is.
Yeah.
They do the job, but definitely not like a Fanatec setup for sure.
No.
Yeah. One of these days, I'll drop a little money in it.
Yeah, you're just gonna come over to my house and drink on the weekends and play it. That's
probably, yeah. We were talking about doing a little sim drifting after this. I'm sure you're out and about today, but at some point when you get back in, let's set up a live stream and we'll just all hop on Twitch and do a little door bashing. What do you think?
So I sold mine at the beginning of COVID.
Oh,
and
why did you sell yours?
Months.
Curious.
Kind of just when the whole COVID thing came out, I was like, all right, well, the world's gonna end, and I was just like, and also right before that, the house I'm renting, they were like, hey, we're putting the house on the market, and so with everything going on, I was like, I got to downsize, and I had a pretty big unit with triple 34-inch ultra wide screens and like pretty big setup,
right?
And I was just like, I got to get rid of this, and I'll build another one later. But right now, my priorities are not simming. And to be honest, I hadn't been using it that much, anymore.
Yeah.
And so I regret it. But even more so because Brian, my teammate, he had sold his probably like, I don't know, 8 months before that. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to sell mine. So I sell it. And then like a month later, he buys another one. So now from me having one and him not having one. And then now it's flipped. So I don't have one and he does. So it's like, dang it.
All right. Well, you'll have to let us know when you get another one because we'll have to get in some tandems for sure.
Yep. That's obviously in the wind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely would love to buy another one and build another one for sure.
So, hey,
it'll be a little more compact.
I know, Ryan, you got some questions, but just for me, talk a little bit about this team thing. What's up with that?
Oh, yeah. Sumbitch Racing?
Yeah.
Well, when Brian and I were first starting, and actually going to go drift, we're like, hey, let's do it. Like, let's make a team, and so we did, and we just went out and got our business license to use it for write-offs, which, I'd never done before. I've never had my own business, but we did that. And we wanted to turn, it into something kind of similar to what Villains has done where, it's a team, but they also make parts. And so that's been our, that's been our dream. And we haven't made too many parts, but we've made some, but that was kind of the idea is, hey, let's do this together. And I love the guy. He's the most sweet, genuine guy you'll ever meet. And he's a phenomenal driver. And so, and we blend really well. So I was like, I want you to be my teammate,
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, we just started it. We had the idea to make a Bearded Bro logo with two, instead of crossbones below it, it'd be beer bottles. So that was our first logo. And we just kind of I think he did a little drawing, and then our buddy Jared did another one. And then I took that and pretty much just made it in Illustrator. And then that's the Bearded Bro logo, and
Nice.
It's kind of stuck since then. People like it. So,
Well, you got to keep it now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. It's on the back of our cars, and people recognize it, so it's cool.
That's awesome.
All right, Ryan, what you got?
What parts do you guys make? So what do you have available right now?
Oh yeah, thanks, brother. So we are making handbrake extensions, and that's honestly those have been selling so well, and so they're super easy to make. And so if you don't know what that is, basically you just kind of take the sleeve off of your stock handbrake, pull up handbrake, and put a slide on, tube thing, and it's got a little angled up another tube with a hand grip on it, and extends it to a better, reach and a little bit more leverage. And we've been selling those, really well, and that's been great. And we're just trying to find ourselves. We developed a aero kit for the E36, which is what is on Brian's car. And we basically did metal side skirts. We kind of came up with the drawing on what bends we wanted and what we wanted to do there, and measurements, and then had them made for Brian's car, just one off. And then, did all that. And so initially we started with just the skirts, because Brian was like, I want some skirts for my car. And then Joel from Drift HQ hit us up. He's like, hey, these are sick. I want to run them. And we're like, what? And so we kind of established this partnership with Drift HQ, and he pushed us to finish the kit and develop, the front and the rear. And so we did. So then, we took and basically took a piece of plywood and spaced an E36 M3 bumper up above 2 inches or 2.5 inches or so, filled with some of that spray foam you put in the walls, and then shaved it down, and then put Bondo over that and shaped it,
Yep.
And we made the front lip just from doing that,
Nice.
We didn't know what the hell we're doing.
Right, just make it up as you go.
Yeah, you just go and you just do it, and so we made that, and then found a fiberglass manufacturer that can repop them for us. So we had molds made, and so that's there. And then we developed the rear, and instead of doing a lip that wraps around, we did spats, which a lot of people don't know what they are, but they're little side, spat things that kick down on the side of the rear bumper. And we kind of just liked that because it was kind of a little more simple in the back, and kind of like the open area in the center that you could have for like your bash bar. You don't have to have a lip there.
It also probably gets rid of the smoke better too, I would assume.
Yeah. But so we got those out, and those are metal as well. So that's kind of where it was. And we did 15 prototype, sets, and they took forever to sell.
Really?
And so that was kind of like, yeah. And we were just like, all right, well, not only that, but like UPS, which has been the only one I could really find that's cheap enough to use to ship these things, because they're like oddly sized. They were like, they've destroyed, some of our stuff when we ship it. I don't know if it's maybe my fault for not packaging it properly or their fault for mishandling it. I don't know, but they're like mangled. And so they destroyed some lips, some skirts, and like wouldn't cover it with insurance and all that and so forth. And it's just hassle. So, we lost money on that and just shipping those things. And so like with the whole process of dealing with how long it takes to package it, like it takes me like an hour to make a lip. Package a lip, because I have to like make a box around it, you know what I mean? Because there's nothing that like fits it. And if I can find a box that fits it, it's huge and it's really expensive to ship, and people don't want to pay that much to ship things,
Yeah.
And so we kind of decided just recently that, we're going to stop selling those, or at least shipping them. And so we sold out of all 15 prototypes, kits, and we're pretty proud of them. They look cool, but they just don't make sense to make, and then like you have to store them, and it takes up a bunch of room, having all these skirts and all these lips and everything taking up room in our houses, because we don't have a shop, it's just us dudes in our own houses doing things in our garage. And so it's like, well, they're not practical, so we're kind of like right now in a mode where we're just going to discontinue it. We think maybe do some small runs for local people if they want it, and that way we don't have to like ship it. If we don't have to ship it, it makes our life way easier.
Yeah, definitely.
What about like a group buy or a forum buy? I'm sure we could sort something like that out, right?
Yeah, no, and we're not opposed to that. Like, it's just the shipping is the hard part. If we could figure out some way to like do, if somebody wants it on the East Coast and do a group buy, we maybe put it on like some pallets or something, that'd be cool. But it's just, the shipping has been just a challenge, and
wind is really picking up there, buddy.
Yeah,
let me find a better spot.
And then I know you said the originals you made were metal, but so just to verify, all of the ones you're making now are fiberglass, right?
No, the front lip is fiberglass.
Oh, okay.
The side skirts and the spats are still
metal.
Are still metal.
Okay.
And the main reason for that is like we looked into doing the fiberglass for the sides and the spats, and literally our cost was like $20 less than what Click Tuning charges for the retail for their kit. So
wow.
we're
Might
not
as
going
well.
to do a full kit for $20 less than, or $20 profit,
Yeah.
So that was kind of like, no, we can't do that. And so we just, decided to stick with metal on that.
Yeah.
There is a company in Washington that we're trying to reach out to, and this is on the DL, but I mean, not anymore, I suppose. But we're talking to them, and I'm not sure how inclined they are, but they have plastic stuff that they make. So they make like Subaru over fenders out of plastic and stuff like that. So I'm trying to see if we can get some sort of partnership where they could make our aero kit in plastic, and I think that would be, to me, way cool, especially if it's anywhere like KBD is, where it's like you can actually like bend it around and put it in a small box and ship it out,
I was gonna say, like, if it's some kind of flexible material like that, that'd be real cool.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be our goal, and if that's the case, then we're going to bring it full market, and do a great, full-fledged thing. If we can't work that relationship out, then we're probably just going to stop doing the aero kit in general, and maybe just a little bit here and there on the local guys, but for the most part, not focus on it, and focus our attention on other things, and
So why BMWs? Why did you guys choose to do like BMW side skirts and all that over everything else? And why do you guys, well, obviously you have your Subaru now, but why do you guys choose to drive BMWs?
Yeah, so we started with BMWs just because they're cheap. You know, my first drift car that I bought was a E36 sedan with a 5.0 swap in it, and I bought it like that, and it was kind of junky swap. Like they did a really bad job with it, but it was cheap. I think I paid like $1,500 for that car or something like that. You know, and it needed a little bit of work, and it was cheap. And then Brian's, I think he spent like $3,000, maybe like $3,300 on it, but his was like really straight and clean. And they're cheap, they're reliable, they make a good enough power. There's tons of parts for them, and they don't look too bad. You know, they're great cars.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, we definitely got to talk about your Subaru. So
Sure.
you should definitely, give us a rundown on kind of what it is, what the motor is, all that, and why you chose to do all that.
Yeah. So it's a 2005 Legacy GT sedan. I don't know why I did it. I'm dumb. I'll tell you that much. It used to be my daily, and I originally, when I bought the car, it was a car I bought for cheap because I had a blown turbo, and I was gonna flip it, and I started driving it. I really just fell in love with it, and I just like, man, I really like this car. And I hated red. It's red. I hated red cars, and I didn't really care for it. But then I started driving it. I just like, man, this thing drives really, really nice, And I just, started dailying it and fell in love with it. Started modding it. It was an automatic, unfortunately. So I did a 5-speed swap, and then blew up like I think 3 of those. Then it went, yeah.
Jeez.
And then I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go rear-wheel drive and STI 6-speed. So I did. Oh, here we go. Hold up. Pause.
I was gonna say I could see the chaser in your glasses.
Are you gonna do it?
Oh, there we go. Yeah, we get our own live show.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Monty.
Ooh, it sounds good too,
Yeah,
man.
it does. It sounds real good.
So good. Oh,
Like
I love
it
that
sounded really good even coming through your phone, and you're pretty close to him, I have to say. That's not bad.
Yep.
So rad. Yeah, so
Oh, I see. You wanted that kind of sound coming out of your Subaru.
yeah, exactly. Well, what happened was, so I was like, all right, well, I want to make this a drift car because I had the E36 with the 5.0 in it, and it had like been thrashed and it was broken, and I didn't really care for it. So I was like, well, I'm gonna make the Subaru my drift car, And so the first thing I did to do that was I did an R200 diff conversion. Kind of did it, and no one had done it yet, and I just kind of figured it out. And what it was a R200 diff out of a Z31 300ZX, so like the weird looking ones, And I retrofitted that in. Did the 6-speed swap.
Hey, can I ask you, Nick, how much bigger is that than the R180?
So it had an R160.
Oh, an R160. Ooh.
Yeah. And so 160 millimeter ring gear versus 200 mil. Yeah. So, substantially bigger. The R200 is the same sort of diff that's in like 240s and, other things like that.
I think
it's
even the early Z cars, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the early Z cars, like the 280Z, was an R180.
Oh, that was a 180. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and then the Z31, I think, was the first to get the 200. I think I'm correct.
I think so.
That's pretty beefy. Yeah. Do you have any idea how much horsepower you can put through that before it starts giving you problems?
So those ones are different from like the 241. There's a long nose and a short nose. They look form factor very similar to what the R160 and R180 do, which is a long nose, and the 240s have a short nose, and the short nose I think is stronger, and the reason being is you have a long shaft going from the front of the diff all the way back to your pinion, and so I think that shaft is probably a weak point. So hindsight's 2020. I would have done a little bit more custom work, but I think I should have done, like a 350Z diff instead. And I think that would have been a better option, but time will tell. I'm hoping for, 500 hopefully is what it'll handle, but maybe more. Hopefully, we'll see. I'm just gonna push it until it blows, and then do a swap later.
Sure.
I'm gonna take a guess. I think if you're pushing 500 horse, I don't think it's gonna last that long in a track like Park. Depending on what tires you run, I think if you have enough grip, you're gonna blow it pretty quick. Because I feel like that's about
probably.
that's about like a 240, and you when you get into that like 450 range on stock axles, you kind of start to push it. So we'll see, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, if I break it, I'm gonna make it better. I'm gonna put a 350Z or 370Z zip in there. I'll put one of those and make it stronger. But that was the first thing I did, and the reason being was because the form factor was so similar to what the R160 was, that it wasn't too bad. I had to bash up a little bit, thing, and make some custom mounts and custom bushings, but it was relatively easy. And then I used 240 axles, 240 5-lug hubs, and put them on the Subaru knuckle, and then Infinity G35 base brake rotors, which happened to work with my Subaru brake calipers and internal parking brake.
Okay.
Got it all to work.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Blown my mind. I can continue.
Yeah, no, it was just like
wild.
Figure out what parts kind of work, and so I did that and did the 6-speed STI 6-speed swap, and took it out to Spirit Peaks for its shakedown event. It was like a Halloween thing. I took it to. Got 5 laps and blew a head gasket.
Oh.
So Subaru life,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't want to deal with EJ motor for the drifting. I'm going to be drifting. It's just going to break over and over again. And they're expensive to build. Even when you build them, they're not reliable. And they sound great and they make good power, but they're just not reliable.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was just like, fuck it, let's put a JZ in it, and
what's so funny, dude, is when you first asked why the JZ Subaru, I was getting ready to say because he was tired of blowing head gaskets, but then I bit my tongue because I thought, well, what if our guest says, no, that Subaru motor was the greatest motor I ever had or something,
The
but
one
no, I
time
should have
you
known.
hold your tongue, Andy, the one time.
That'll teach me.
Let's see if that's good.
Do we got round 2? The S14?
Ooh.
Nope.
Oh, just going to town. So it's all good. It's all good.
Taking the first spin. Oh well. So yeah, JZ swap has been like a year, like 2 years, I think, in the making. So I got basically, after I blew the EJ up, I decided to JZ swap it. I bought the E46, the first one, the silver one, and kind of just got distracted with that. Built that car, coilovers, and did angle and all that stuff, and bucket seats, and just put all my time into that. And I'm not too upset that I did that, because that car was a really good seat time car. Like, that car made me a better driver, and I just was able to drive it, and it was reliable.
Yeah.
So
there's certain cars like that, Nick. I'm sorry to interrupt, but aren't there a few different cars like that just sort of, their dynamics are you don't have to fight them. I mean, a lot of people talk about how 240 SXs are that way. You get them sideways and they just want to slide. For autocross, I always tell people start with a Miata, because I feel like a short cone course is a good place to start. For drifting, I feel like a lot of people are leaning to, and we talk about this all the time, the E36s and the E46s, how they're going to be the next big drift car.
I think they kind of already are at this point.
They are.
Right.
There's more of them at Park than there is at 240s nowadays.
But dynamically, I think they're a car that people are going to find that they can learn with, and it's going to be very stable. It's going to be very neutral, and it's just going to be a good all-around car that you don't have to fight against, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Those cars are great. So in stock form, you weld the diff, take it out, and you can have great time, and you can learn. And that same chassis you can take all the way up to a pro level, and it's going to perform great at doing it. The way they design the suspension, especially in the rear, it's got trailing arm, so it's got a lot of natural grip, so they're super grippy and they're super easy to make fast. and they're cheap and they're reliable. So really, honestly,
Yeah.
no regrets on that.
That's awesome. So, what transmission are you using behind the JZ?
So I was using a 330 CI, like a 04 plus 6-speed, not the 5-speed. So like a ZF 6-speed.
Mm-hmm.
And I went with Excessive Manufacturing's adapter kit to go from the Toyota motor to the BMW trans. And that would have been great. But the problem is that specific trans has kind of a short input shaft. And so I took it for first test drive, I think 2 weeks ago, around the block, and there was just like a shitload of vibrations coming from the transmission, like just crazy, like not healthy. So I pulled the engine back out, pulled the trans out, and examined it. And what it was is that specific tranny has kind of a short input shaft, and it didn't even make it far enough to fit into the pilot bearing.
Oh my gosh! So it was just wobbling around doing whatever.
Exactly.
Wow.
And it's a twin disc clutch in there, so the first disc that's in closer to the engine was literally offset and turned it into like a giant vibrator.
Ugh.
So
got it.
Not
That's
good.
terrible.
Not good. So what I'm doing now is the M3 get reg from like the E46 M3. It's a 6-speed get reg, 420G is what it's called. I'm actually converting an SMG trans though. So a lot of people don't realize that the M3 SMG is the same transmission as the manual 6-speed, but with a weird shift pump thing on the back of it. And it's, I think, an electronic slave cylinder. And so pretty cool. The main difference after you remove the SMG components off of the tranny is it doesn't have detents in it. So like it won't hold like a neutral, or it doesn't have a reverse lockout. When you're like moving the shifter back and forth, it will like center itself. It doesn't do that. And so the detents, basically all you have to do is put the detents into the bell housing. And so you have to do a little bit of machining to put a couple little snap rings in to hold the plug for the detents. And then that's pretty much it. So that's the goal right now, is converting the SMG 420G into a manual with detents, and that's going to be the new trans.
Nice.
Those SMG trans must be cheaper than the manual, because I doubt a lot of people realize this yet.
Nope. I got it for $580.
Nice.
So,
yeah. It's nothing.
Yeah. No, super cheap.
Yeah, that's
Super
awesome.
cheap.
And you know what's funny is when I worked for Horsepower Freaks, of course, they were known for their big horsepower E46 kits. And I know those transmissions, I mean, guys were putting 1,000 horsepower through them. They made a kit that literally was just, obviously it was a motor, there were motor components, but really not all that much. And then a specialty turbo and a lot of tuning. But, you could have an 800-900 horsepower daily driver E46 using a Horsepower Freaks kit. So those transmissions, man, $580. Are you kidding me right now for that level of trans?
That's awesome.
Exactly. Like, just no brainer, super cheap, bang for the buck. Like, you want to buy an M3 actual 6-speed, you're looking at $2,000 plus by itself. And so this was a cheap option.
Yep.
Converting it is, if you do the conversion yourself and you have the ability to do the machining, about $150 to $200 in parts. I'm paying somebody to do the machining, so I don't have a machine shop and all that. So it's costing me about $580. So $580 for the trans and $580 to convert it. Not too bad.
That's not bad though for what it is. I mean, what it'll hold. I mean, that thing should be solid for a long time.
Well,
exactly.
If more people could spend
solid.
Well, yeah, if more people could get a $1,000 1,000 horsepower transmission, they would do it.
Yeah,
exactly.
I would too. I mean, that's just like the AR5s for the Chevys. Those things are going for $600 a pop right now. Jared's selling them for $600 all day long, and TVT6s are $1,500 used, and that thing could be blown up already. Like, I mean, I've known quite a few people to get blown up used ones.
Exactly. And like the form factor too, like that's another thing with the Subaru tunnel. It's so small that like the bigger those trannies are just, they're big, like other trannies, like especially a CD09.
Oh yeah.
Massive.
Yep.
And so the BMW trannies are small and they hold a lot. So it's like, all right, cool. Let's do the BMW trannies.
Nice. So why did you choose the JZ? Why didn't you choose something easier like a 4-cylinder or something? Because I mean, I'm sure that it would be easier to shoehorn a 4-cylinder in there rather than a JZ being as big as it is in a Subaru. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I haven't done that. So
I might even wonder about an LS, because just thinking about it logically, would an
Yeah.
LS even be that much bigger than a flat 4?
Yeah. Yeah, no, the LS would have been actually probably a little easier. Besides the headers, the headers would have been kind of a challenge to the steering, but like that's with any LS swap, going into a different car is you have to figure out the header going around the steering.
it's always the worst part.
It wouldn't have been that bad. I think I could have done it.
Bro, you would have just turned the zoomies up, 8 pipes sticking out of the hood, done and done.
Yeah. Oh God, no. Why I went with the JZ. I've always wanted one. They sound amazing. They make great power. And I don't know. It was like also, Toyota owns like 13 or some 15% of Subaru. So it was like a little bit of like, this is part of it kind of.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good enough answer for me. I mean, that's more or less my only reason for having the one JZS14 is because it's like I have my brand new LS motor more or less just sitting on my floor, and now I have a purpose for it. But before I didn't, but it was kind of like, I don't know, I want a JZ. So I got one. I don't know. I mean,
you know what?
I've just been a fan of those motors.
Nick, we need to get you some BRZ badges.
Ooh.
BRZ.
You can tell people what it's supposed to be.
It's a Toyota Subaru, thing.
BRZ, I don't know, something.
Is that a Toybaru or is that a Subayota?
Well, see, you got to do more than that because I've got the BMW Trans and the Nissan Diff.
Ooh, that's
so
right.
You got to figure out how to phrase that. I don't even know.
It's a platypus.
There you go. Yeah, it's a platypus.
That's awesome.
But hopefully it's a reliable platypus. We'll see.
Well, I think with what you got going on there, I think you should be good. I think at this point your weak link is your diff is what it kind of sounds like. But
axles, I think axles are going to be the weak link. Yeah, they're 240 axles. But I do have some stubs to go to 350Z axles, so that'll be the next thing after I start breaking axles. I'm gonna just go ahead and put those stubs on and get some Z axles in there, and I think that'll help. And then the diff is definitely going to be the weak link. And yeah.
And I know I didn't ask. I assume it's just like a one-piece drive shaft that you had custom made or something.
So that's so with the 330 6-speed that I had in there, I just used the 330 2-piece, and I made an adapter to go from the CV in the back of it to the R200 diff flange, U-joint diff flange, and basically had that I 3D modeled it, taught myself a 3D model, and then had my buddy machine that, and it worked. The carrier bearing actually lines up where the Subaru carrier bearing was. I just had to put some nutserts in there and then tack them in, and it fits. And
it's so wild when stuff happens like that.
Yeah, and it's cool and all, and the 2-piece will be good, I think. I mean, Chelsea Denofa thinks, I was talking to him about it, and he's like, yeah, it's probably going to be fine doing the 2-piece. They're pretty stout as long as you do a new CV and then maybe get a solid carrier bearing.
Yeah,
he thinks it'd be okay. I'm a little worried about it because just at Summer Jam, one of my teammates, he has a 330 sedan, and day one blew up the CV on his driveline. I'm just looking at that hey, that's the exact same driveline that's in my Subaru, and I'm running 400 or 500 horsepower. So I'm like,
I think I take back what I said. I think your driveline's a weak link.
Yeah, well, exactly. So I have a one-piece from when I was the STI trainee, but the thing is, the STI trainee has a normal slip yoke, that goes into it. So it actually has a little yoke that goes into it, and that's the the slip. Well, that's great, except for the BMW has a Guibo, which is a little flex disc thing behind it. It doesn't have a slip yoke. So you have to have slip in the driveline for, so it doesn't bind. And
I see.
Yeah, so trying to adapt a one-piece to that is challenging. And
do drivelines really bind that much? I mean, with a solid if you're all let's say your trans is solid mounted, your diff is solid bushings. I mean, really, none of it should be moving, right? I mean, technically, you're right. But with all that torque, I don't know. It might have some binding issues. I'm not
100% sure. I feel like I'd rather be safe than sorry and have some sort of give in the drive line.
Me too. But I was just wondering, like, because we just were discussing the drive line, like in Jared's car and whatnot, and that was something that we were talking about. It was like, well, realistically, if everything's solid mounted, it shouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, now we're gonna give it a little bit anyways, but still.
Yeah. Well, I might try it. I mean, I don't know. My engine is solid mounted. The tranny is solid mounted. The diff has got poly mounts. But
the only thing I'd be worried about is like wrecking your trans housing or something, you know, like if everything is solid and then like your driveline doesn't give, something else is going to give.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'd avoid that, but I was just wondering.
I want to try and maintain the Guibo. And so that's the hard part. And what Excessive does is they get rid of the Guibo and they have an adapter to go from the 3-prong on the back of the tranny to go to like a U-joint, and then they'll put a CV on the back of the drive line. And that's how they do their BMW one pieces. And that's an option, but I kind of want to maintain the Guibo as much as possible. The reason being is, you know, BMW developed the tranny to have this cushion front and back. They did a dual mass flywheel, and then they have a Guibo on the back of it. So it's like got cushion, you know, to protect the components inside. I want to maintain that as much as possible. Obviously, I can't do that with the clutch because it's a twin disc, but the Guibo, I kind of want to try to maintain it. And so I'm just trying to figure out how I can engineer it in there and still keep it. So we'll see. To be determined.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's a good way out too, and that also gives you a little flex there. So if, you know, under clutch kicking and all that, that's just a little bit of something to soak it up so it's not so hard on your 240 axles.
Well, you think about it, that car is way heavier than a 240.
Oh yeah, that too. I didn't think about that.
It's like 3,700 pounds without me in it is what I'm estimating with the JZ. Wow. And maybe even a little more, so probably about 39 with me in it, and that's only one passenger, and it's a sedan, and I'm gonna go full deep, you know. And so
your poor axles, your poor everything.
Everything. Yeah, it could be like 4,500, 4,600 pounds, you know, easy with people in it. And so I'm just like, yeah, that's definitely going to pop those axles, but we'll see.
Well, once you get to a point where you might need to replace axles, diff, driveline, I mean, what do you think? How are you going to get a short-nosed R200 in it?
I'm just going to fab it in.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's probably not too much different than the 180, right?
There are different, quite a bit. Like the R160, 180, and 200 long nose have like two studs that come off of the back of it, of the diff, and the 160 and 180 have the same width on those studs. The R200 is just like a little bit wider, it's like a 1/4 inch wider. So literally all I had to do was make some like the round inset bushings for inside my poly bushings, literally just offset the hole inside that a little bit to the left, and so it wasn't centered, and then just did two of those and then slid those into the factory location on the subframe.
Nice.
With the short nose, it's kind of like, it's not two, it's just one stud, I think. No, it depends on which one it is actually, but they're way more. The Nissan, or the 240 ones, I think actually is two studs, and they're like way wider. So I'd literally have to cut the subframe out and move the mount over. But
what if you just cut the mount off the 240 diff and move it over?
You'd have to use a custom back housing for the diff, like back cover,
I see what you mean.
Diff cover, which I could potentially read them all up and have, you know, my buddy that's a machinist make potentially. So it's an option.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know.
When you've got a welder and a machinist,
and you know, like to make a back case, what is a back case? I mean, really, it's just a little flange with a bunch of holes in it, and you have like maybe 2-3 pieces of plate that you weld onto it. You could like make it out of mild steel like fairly easy.
Yeah, I'd rather just have him machine it, I think, because you got to like have clearance for the ring, and it's going circles in there because it like has a clearance on the factory bit. To clearance that, so it'd have a little bit of custom stuff like that, but I think it is doable. Absolutely. I thought about that.
Yeah. Oh, are you gonna get him to do round 2 to send us off?
I don't know. Oh no, I think he's leaving. Oh, he's going to check out. Yes. I think he's trying to see how much quieter it is with the turn down.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah,
we'll
because
see.
they're getting noise complaints and stuff at park. So
Oh, are
Yeah.
they?
yeah, so that's one thing that I know Dalton's asked me to mention is that there's not like necessarily a decibel limit at park, but like everyone knows cars that are too loud, and pretty much I think the standard rule now is if your car is not turbo, you need a muffler, and if your car is turbo, you don't have to have a muffler, but I think that's also kind of within reason because I think there is some loud turbo cars, but some cars, obviously they're super quiet when they're turboed. So
Right.
I think it's just kind of, and I know like when I talked to Dalton about it kind of off the air, he was mentioning that it's really hard to run like a decibel gun and all that because, you have cars like my car, I have a turn down right at my axles. So if you're going to stand 10 feet behind me and try to run it, my car's going to be half as loud as it probably is,
Right.
just off of that limit. So, that's definitely something everyone needs to remember if they're going to park. So
This isn't a drift car thing that I remember in autocross, and it was one time with the Emerald Empire Sports Car Club. They were at a track, well, not a track, it was a parking lot, but there was a dB limit, and they had a decibel meter out there. And a buddy of mine at the time, Alex Braskovez, I'm sure a lot of the 240 guys remember him because, man, he sold all kinds of parts.
oh yeah, he still does.
He put a flex pipe on his muffler so that he could, because he didn't know which side of his car they were going to have the dB meter on. So when he got there and saw which side of his car they had the dB meter on, he just turned it so that it exited on the other side.
That's amazing.
That's funny.
I want to say something like they had one of those when I went to one of those Coburg autocrosses with you guys, and I think I only like half revved my car, and the guy kind of looked at me, and I'm just like, are you gonna let me go? And he let me go, and I just kind of 3/4 throttled it the whole way because I knew better. But
Yep. There are always creative ways to get around it.
Oh yeah. But,
So with the whole decibel limit at park, there was a dude that lived in the house that's like the closest house, of course, to park, and he lived there for like 8 years, and then recently sold it, and an older couple moved into the house, and that's where it's coming from.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
They're like unfortunately right there, right next to the track, and they just didn't realize what they were getting into, and so they make complaints quite a bit, and it's just like. It's unfortunate, because you move to a racetrack and then you complain that the racetrack's there.
Yeah.
yeah, like come on.
Come on, guys. Same thing happened to PIR back when, the day they had like no houses around them, and then development happened and people moved right next to a racetrack and then complained that there's a racetrack there. So it's like, come on, guys.
The good news is our community is awesome, and at the end of the day, park's not going away, and we'll make it happen one way or another, and the drifters will make it happen, and we'll still be going there. So.
And we need the right kind of people out here too. By the way, I live right over in Lebanon. There's a dirt circle track that's pretty well known called Willamette Speedway, and let me tell you something. When they run, I have my windows open. I'm just like, bring it on. Let me hear it.
We'll be sitting out there barbecuing around the fire, and you just sit here and listen to all the V8 cars just rip around the track. It's rad. Yeah, it's awesome.
I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, we love it as enthusiasts. It's unfortunate that we don't live around park, and that wouldn't be a problem. But I think something that we as drifters gotta be we gotta be courteous, towards both park and the neighbors, just so that we can continue doing it, and some people's cars are just ridiculous.
I agree.
And I like a loud car, especially I've been to FD a lot, and they're freaking awesome. I love it. But when you're pissing people off and they continue to complain, to the city, then that's you gotta just make your car quiet.
And I've been throwing some ideas out there.
Gotta do it.
I've been talking to Dalton a little bit because I know they've been talking about the oil and that. I've been talking to him about maybe I'm going to make some oil pans. I've also been talking about once we get our tubing bender, I might just see if someone wants to split some costs with me on just a whole bunch of tubing, and we'll just make 15, 20 turn downs or something, and just start handing them out to people at park and just be like, here, you just got to go put this on your car. Go have someone put this on there,
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Turn downs help, actually.
They do. They help a lot.
Yeah.
It's crazy what they do.
Boy, you want to talk about the community. Listen to this guy right here. He's just going to make people turn downs.
Well, park is not going anyway, one way or another. We're not losing that place.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody did do that and offered them for free, the community. So back to that, when we first started, how I said the Honda community kind of sucked and the Volkswagen community was cool. The drift community is even better than the Volkswagen community. The amount of brothership we have with the dudes that are in it, and just how like real everyone is, you know, it's a family. And I've never felt anywhere like that. Like that's my family, you know. Park is a sanctuary, and it's my homies, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Ooh, we should start something like a drift church.
We get all our tax write-offs for
Every Sunday we're out at Park hanging out.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
That sounds like awesome. A great idea.
I know, right?
Hey, Nick, this has been amazing, dude. I really want to thank you for coming on and talking to us. Do you have any wisdom to send us out with?
Man, I don't have any wisdom. I'm dumb.
we gotta do our typical thing. Look at me. I'm a week off and I already forgot.
Man, yep.
Okay, so it's dream build time. Money no object, dream drift car, and I mean, listen, we've let it slide a few times, but you can't use your current vehicle. That's boring.
No, it wouldn't be.
Okay.
I would love a Eurofighter. I know that's not anything crazy, but or it is crazy, but it's not like anything that's not been done. But those things are fucking sick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That a Eurofighter would be rad. I don't know, like
what motor? What motor?
What motor?
Yeah, what motor would you put in it? Would you JZ it or would you V8 it? I mean, it's gonna be one of those two.
It'd be a V8. As much as I love JZs, I think it'd be V8 because I like the instant torque, and it'd probably be something along the lines of like one of the motors that's in the RTRs. I don't know, what are those, like Roush?
Yeah, the Roush E8s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Those things are like what, 900 horse NA?
Yep.
And then you add nitrous on top of that.
Yeah, and I think they rev to like it's something ridiculous, like 9,500 or 10,000 or something. I think it's pretty rowdy.
Even they rev higher than the Coyotes do.
Right. Even the consumer version is like 8,200, I think.
Yeah. It's wild.
You know, and an RTR might be a strong second on that list. And maybe at some point I'll take my company car and turn it into an RTR. I don't know. The 2018 Mustang GT. So nothing like what a full one would be, but like, you know, I did drift this once at a private day on a rainy private day, and dude, it's a handful, that's for sure. Like,
a little different than a 240 or a BMW, I guess.
Electric steering, power steering. So like you don't have the feedback that you normally do. And then this is just still stock suspension. And so like it's really soft. So it's got like tons of grip. But as soon as you exit drift, it does this weird like shimmy thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I can totally see why people kill crowds with these things, because it took me like a good portion of the day to actually be able to link the track and like be smooth with it, because it's not an easy car to drift at all.
It is. It's really funny how you throw like a good drifter into a car that's like more or less just bone stock, and it's like, God, what am I doing? Like you just lost. It's wild.
Dude, it was wild, but it was so much fun because of that challenge. You know, I just had an absolute blast with it. So, you know, it was fun to do.
That's awesome.
Nice. That's what we like to hear. Listen, nothing against Matt Haugen. We loved having him on, but I asked him, what's your dream drift build? And he said, I already have it.
But see, and that's the thing, is I believe him.
Well, yeah, that's fair enough. But just between you, me, and the 1,000 people that are going to see this, I like yours better.
Yeah, dude. Those Eurofighters are sick.
Hell yeah. Sure. All right, Nick. Well, hey, man. We appreciate you, buddy. We're going to let you roll.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
Guys. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thanks, buddy. See ya.
All right. Peace.
And there he goes.
Man, that was just packed full of information.
And a couple of Bernies.
Yeah, I know, right? We didn't even have to post up burnout videos. We just got it for us. They just knew. They seen the camera and they're like, all right, we got to do at least one.
What did he say that was? Starburst or sunburst, starburst?
Sunburnt bronze, I think.
Sunburnt bronze.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it still looked like a root beer to me. That's probably one of those ones you have to see in the sunlight.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it is. It's a lot different in the sunlight.
I bet it is. Yeah.
I think it's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not quite so dark. It's a lot lighter.
Sure. Well, man, I think we need to wrap this up.
Yeah, I think so.
Good time, good episode, good talking to him. And always good to see you, my friend.
Oh, definitely. And we'll be back again next week. I think we're going to do an episode with the two of us, and not sure what's in store yet, but we're going to come up with something to talk about. It's going to be good backstories, I'm sure. There's going to be lots of, my first week of drifting with a sim setup.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk to Jared, but I'm pretty sure Cat's out of the bag at this point with that thing. So we could definitely do some talking about the Mercedes.
Yeah, we're going to have
kind
some
of
photos
what
of that.
we got some stuff going on. A guy may or may not have dropped off a C10 truck a couple days ago.
All right.
Yeah. May or may not be getting a 5.3 with some bolt-ons.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So
Well,
we got that in there right now too.
We'll also be opening up the mailbag. We're going to have listener questions, listener rides, so make sure you are submitting those and subbing to all of our channels. Please go out there and find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitch. Make sure that you're following those so that you know when we're doing these lives and when we're talking about stuff. When we're doing a little sim racing, probably going to be having people stop by and hang out with us on the sim drift days. So make sure you tune into that. Of course, if you want to hear us on audio, if you have a podcast listening app that you like to use, find us there. We are everywhere. We also go out live on Spreaker every Friday, and I think it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, I know that we're definitely going to be doing a lot more on Twitch. At least I'm going to try to be once I can get this whole drift sim thing set up and figured out and build our little rig and all that. I plan to be streaming, so we'll see what happens.
That's all the only reason to follow is to watch this dude learn how to sim drift.
To watch me screw up at sim drifting and everyone can laugh. And they'll just, every comment will be, no, go back to your car. Like, you'll get in a real car. Like, just sell that thing. You don't need that.
That's right. I can't wait. All right. So, hey, for Ryan, for Nick Proudy and producer Nick and myself, this is Andy. We will see you next week.